The incredible speed of some unidentified craft in our skies has been a characteristic of the UFO phenomenon from its beginning in the late 1940s. Most of the objects that were tracked or seen at speeds up to an incredible 10,000 miles per hour were approximately 30 to 50 feet across. Such a relatively small size makes it easier to comprehend them as being similar to our own transportation vehicles, which carry perhaps a handful of occupants. There are also reports of football field-sized UFOs, but much less known, and admittedly much rarer, are sightings of massive, city-sized craft. Indeed, not only have such vast machines been seen, they have apparently also been tracked on radar. Are these enormous ships being used as the base of operations from which the smaller are sent out, and which potentially have interstellar travel capabilities? If these cities in the sky exist, then what is the agenda of the beings that inhabit them? Radar operators have been tracking UFOs travelling at incredible speeds for decades. Even in the 1950s, hundreds of unknown objects were being tracked on radar, some travelling at speeds upwards of 9,000 miles per hour, most of which were thought by UFO researchers to be of extraterrestrial origin. One unnamed retired military radar operator who worked as part of Operation Cobra Mist at the military installation on Orford Ness on the Suffolk coast of eastern England in the early 1970s. He reportedly tracked numerous UFOs travelling at incredible speeds on the equipment there. Cobra Mist operated from the late 1960s until June the 30th, 1973, and was a costly but apparently ineffective system. The area around Orford Ness has a strange reputation amongst UFO and paranormal researchers. The evolution of Orford Ness from marshy backwater to a central part of Britain's weapons development ability began in 1913, when the War Office purchased part of the area to act as a base for the newly formed Royal Flying Corps. The site's isolation, surrounding flatness, and proximity to the sea were all considered important prerequisites. During World War I, the research carried out at Orford Ness covered a bewildering range, from work on parachutes and aircraft camouflage to the suppression of aircraft noise, night flying tactics, bomb and machine gun sites, parachute flares, and even the creation of artificial clouds. Cobra Mist radar station was built in the late 1960s at a cost of around £860 million in current prices. The original idea was to track aircraft and missile launches at ranges of between 500 and 2,000 miles, but due to the fact that the received signal was obscured by unexpected background noise, that proved to be an impossibility. Someone who served with the US Air Force in the UK in the mid-1970s at RAF Chicksands summed it up. We could see things in the air over the Soviet Union, but couldn't tell if it was a flock of birds or a squadron of bombers. That's not ideal in a Cold War situation. Are the craft travelling at these fantastic speeds the huge city-sized UFOs that are sometimes reported? Perhaps the most famous sightings within ufology of a huge city-sized UFO was the one recorded by the crew of a Japan Airlines cargo flight, JAL 1628, flying from Iceland to Anchorage on the 17th of November 1986. It was 4:25 p.m. Alaska time and the moon was almost full. The plane was passing through the Canadian North Polar regions and southwest along an Arctic flight course. At 5:05 p.m, and Captain Kenju Tarochi and the crew saw lights that they at first thought were coming from another aircraft, but after a call to Anchorage Centre revealed that there were no other planes in the sky at their location, they began to wonder what the lights were. Then the two lights began to move in a manner different from ordinary aircraft manoeuvres, like two bear cubs playing with each other, in the words of Captain Tarochi. Then something extremely strange happened. In the words of Captain Terauchi, "It was about 7 or so minutes since we began paying attention to the lights. Most unexpectedly, 2 spaceships stopped in front of our face, shooting off lights. The inside cockpit shined brightly, and I felt warm in the face. The ships appeared as if they were stopped in one place in front of us. Then 3 to 7 seconds later, a fire-like from jet engines stopped and became a small circle of lights as they began to fly in level flight at the same speed as we were, showing numerous numbers of exhaust pipes. However, the centre area of the ship where below an engine might be was invisible. The middle of the body of the ship sparked an occasional stream of lights, like a charcoal fire from right to left and from left to right. Its shape was square, flying 500 feet to 1,000 feet in front of us, very slightly higher in altitude than us. Its size was about the same size as the body of a DC-8 jet, and with numerous exhaust pipes. The firing of those exhaust jets varied, perhaps to maintain balance. Some became stronger than others, and some became weaker than others, but seemed controlled automatically." As Captain Terauchi is quoted as saying, "It would have been impossible for any man-made machine to make a sudden appearance in front of a jumbo jet that is flying 810 kilometers per hour. The 2 other crew members all witnessed the enormous walnut-shaped object. However, Anchorage Center told the crew that they had nothing on their radar, but the UFO did appear on the aircraft's radar. Terauchi seemed now convinced the objects were alien spaceships. He goes on in his report of the incident. "We asked if they could catch it on the ground radar, but did not seem they could at all. Normally it appears in red when an aircraft radar catches another aircraft. I wonder if the metal used in the spaceship is different from ours." While we were communicating with the Anchorage Center, the 2 pale white lights gradually moved to the left side and to left diagonally back 30 degrees, as if they understood our conversation, and then when they were beside our aircraft, they totally disappeared from our radar. The plane was now approaching the sky above Eielson Air Force Base, which is located approximately 26 miles southeast of Fairbanks, Alaska. The lights of the strange craft were still there, extremely bright against the dark sky, but as the captain and his crew were looking at the lights, they noticed the silhouette of a gigantic spaceship. This craft accompanied them for some time until a United Airlines passenger plane out of Anchorage came close to them, when it disappeared. Apparently, Anchorage Air Traffic Control also registered the giant object on radar as the crew of the 747 tried to shake it off, because this vast object had been following the jet for some time. After this sighting and the media frenzy that it caused, the Division Chief of the Accidents and Investigation Branch of the FAA, Federal Aviation Authority, John Callahan, investigated the incident. Callahan checked the radar tapes and interviewed the ATC staff, and concluded that the incident did happen. He even gave witness testimony to this incident at the May 2001 and November 2007 Disclosure UFO events, and at the 2013 Citizen Hearings events in Washington, D.C. However, UFO skeptic Philip J. Klass didn't think that an alien spaceship was involved. He said astronomical calculations show that on November 17th, when the pilot claimed to have seen the UFOs, Jupiter was extremely bright and was visible precisely where the pilot reported that he saw the craft. Furthermore, Mars was just below and to the right of Jupiter, and would explain the pilot's initial report that he saw 2 lights. Klass added that a United Airlines flight and an Air Force C-130 cargo plane that were in Terauchi's vicinity at the time of the claimed sighting were asked to look for the object, and neither reported seeing it. He said, "I think that the Japanese pilot should have been a little more skeptical when the United airliner and the Air Force plane reported seeing nothing. It is indeed a little worrying that Captain Terauchi seemed to be describing the strange lights as spaceships before he had discounted any natural explanations. Another sighting of a vast UFO took place on the 23rd of April 2007 sighting. Captain Ray Bowyer of Orani Air Services reported seeing two huge 1 mile across disc-shaped objects hovering near Guernsey in the Channel Islands, UK. Bowyer spotted a bright yellow light 10 miles west of Alderney, while his plane was about 30 miles from the island and at 4,000 feet. He said, "It was a very sharp, thin yellow object with a green area. It was 2,000 feet up and stationary. I thought it was about 10 miles away, although I later realised it was approximately 40 miles from us. At first I thought it was the size of a 737, but it must have been much bigger because of how far away it was. It could have been as much as a mile wide." Bowyer further noted that at the boundary between its radiant yellow area and the dark grey vertical band, he was able to perceive a pulsating interface where sparkling blues, greens and other hues were strobing up and down about once per second. Bowyer seemed convinced of its extraterrestrial origin, saying, "If it was designed by an engineer, that man had to be shaken by the hand, because it was a fantastic piece of equipment, if that is what it was. I can't really say much further than to say what I've said all along, that this thing is not from around here." However, Captain Patterson, the second pilot witness, did not agree with his co-pilot's conclusions, believing that the object could be explained by some type of atmospheric phenomenon. Radar traces seemed to register the presence of two unusual objects, which Ray Bowyer believed related directly to the craft he witnessed, though UFO skeptic David Clark believes that radar reflections of cargo or passenger ferries may have affected at least some of the readings.